Ying, President. The economic performance in Hong Kong has been stable, but the biggest uncertainty is the trade conflict stirred up by the U.S. Tariffs have been imposed on Chinese exports of $250 billion, and President Trump has threatened to impose additional tariffs on the remaining amounts of Chinese imports. So the trade conflict may escalate in due course. We cannot be spared in this conflict. We must be prepared for the cooling effect. And this is the context in which the policy address was delivered. There are not many new initiatives. We want to strengthen our status as an international financial hub and our status as an offshore renminbi pool, and we should create a better business environment which will leverage on the Greater Bay Area initiative. The population is 70 million dollars, and GDP is 1.52 trillion US dollars. And the XRL and the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macao Bridge have been commissioned, and the communication with the mainland is now much better. We should not miss out on this opportunity, which will facilitate the opening up of banking accounts, cross-boundary wealth management, and financial services. The financial markets should be articulated to a greater extent. Now there are people facing difficulties in opening accounts. According to mainland regulatory requirements, if you want to open a bank account, you have to approach personally a particular branch or the business unit of the financial institution. But under the background of facilitating cross-boundary business and living, there should be measures introduced to facilitate cross-boundary bank account operations, and so because there are different regulatory requirements, cross-boundary living and working is not as convenient as it should be. We have 500,000 people working on the mainland. There's a great demand for the various financial services. It's very difficult for these people to open accounts on the mainland. But for Zhuhai and Hengqin, well, they are not. These people are allowed to open accounts. If we can extend this new measure for bank loans, well, we will be able to do something to address our housing problems, and also for the financial operations across the boundary and wealth management. In 2017, we are managing $3.1 trillion of wealth products, but the Guangdong residents are not allowed to do this in Hong Kong. We propose creating a closed-end wealth management system to make it convenient for the mainland people and also Hong Kong residents living on the mainland on a permanent basis. We have many people coming from outside Hong Kong to take out insurance coverage and buy insurance products, but settlement of the payment has been a problem, and it's difficult to provide after-sale service to them. After the Hong Kong-Zhuhai Macao Bridge is commissioned, traffic insurance for the motorists will involve 3 different jurisdictions, and then there's also the difficulties of collecting the premiums on behalf of outside insurers. We should promote fintech by encouraging better communication and liaison among different places Hong Kong MA has introduced FPS, which can be linked up with store value, the facilities, just using one's own phone number and email address. You can transfer funds anytime you want, and the common QR code standard has been announced, and people can make use of different e-wallets to make payments. It has significantly improved the e-payment system. But security must always come first. The government should enhance regulation of privacy and system security, so that people can use fintech products and the convenience with ease of mind. At the end of this year or early next year, Hong Kong MA will issue the first batch of virtual banking licenses, and it would be easier to promote finance for all. And also the interface introduced by the Hong Kong MA will allow third-party participation. As a result, there will be more choices of financial services to make available to Hong Kong. This area has a bright future of development. In Cyberport, we have 250 fintech companies. The business scope covers big data, blockchain, and bank and payment services. Shenzhen has been dubbed the Silicon Valley of China, and the Greater Bay Area has been very anxious to attract talents. Hong Kong SAR government should come up with measures to attract these people and to so that we can offer best terms to the potential tenants, including the accommodation and education for their children, so that we are in a better position to attract them to work in Hong Kong. And in the financial sector, we also need to introduce talent. Last year, the policy address proposing an academy to train people and talent in the financial services. The Hong Kong government is saying that this will be about training the elite echelons of the banking and the financial services industry. But given the keen competition in the market, shouldn't the focus be for the training be focused on the training of middle-ranking personnel? And that's more resources should be given to these areas. And Hong Kong MA and Hong Kong SAR government should pay more attention to the training of talent and introduction of talent. And infrastructure is important. At present, when financial institutions provide services to a client, that's the KYC procedure to follow, know your client procedure. And Hong Kong MA is going to introduce KYCU, a central database. At present, this is done as a commercial operation, unlike Singapore, which is a government-run facility. And I believe very soon we will enter the electronic era in the KYCU. So whether we're talking about KYCU or the eKYCU, the government should suspend on the facility, the infrastructure, because most of the data of our people are held by the government. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the offsetting mechanism of MPF. For SMEs and startups, MPF represent an important part of their total cost. Years ago, when the government wanted the industry to support the establishment of MPF system, it offered the offsetting mechanism. Since the MPF was introduced in 2000, we have seen the diverging views. The labor sector is of the view that the MPF is there to provide for the retirement, and the long service payment and severance payment are for the meeting short-term problems faced by the employees. and the two should not be allowed to offset one another. But for the business sector, he said that there's some overlapping, and that was the precondition for their support of the MPF system. And cancelling the offsetting mechanism would go against the original intention, and it's also against the spirit of contract. And it also go against the promise made by the government. But now, after a long course of discussion, the government has come up with a final solution to cancel the offsetting mechanism. For this purpose, the government would have to provide a subsidy to the companies which are required to pay long service payment and severance payment. And the subsidy period has been extended to 25 years, from 10 years to 25 years. And the commitment has increased from $17.2 billion to the $29.3 billion. I support this enhancement. Of course, it would be better if the government can provide the support for a longer period. Normally speaking, a 25-year period will be able to cover the normal life cycle of a company. For a worker, 25 years means the majority part of his working life. Anyway, this government's subsidy would be able to balance the interests of the employers and employees, especially the impact on SMEs. This would facilitate sustainability of SMEs, and it would also encourage or give confidence to employees in holding jobs for a longer period. The government should take up more fine-tuning positions, such as extending the guarantee period and and fine-tuning some of the proposals on the level of subsidy. President, I've talked about the initiatives related to the financial sector in the policy address. But this year, the focus is on land supply and the relevant financial analysis. I will be talking about those in the fourth debate section on livable city.